Welcome back to my Rerival Dev Log. Today we'll be discussing puzzles. I've already completed one puzzle, but these are also for side rooms in the tower. These will be puzzles that are mechanically tied to passive abilities that are given to the player in shops. I will go through demonstrations and such, but let me just set up my little board. This right here, super basic, like chicken scratch brainstorming. This was made like years ago. I think it's like 6 years ago. This is a very simple one. It's a timing puzzle. I'm not going to go through and explain all the puzzles. Like this one I'm not going to explain, but this one here was made a long time ago, and it works. It's a good puzzle. I mean, I guess I could go through and explain how it works. So essentially, if you hit one, let's say you just hit, I don't want to use the word hit, let's say the activate. You could activate, let's say this one, okay? There will be a fire here, okay? In 3 seconds, the top one will also light a fire, and then another 3 seconds, the next. But every 6 seconds, if one is active for 6 seconds, it will extinguish. The fire will just perish. And then, it'll trail up. So essentially, it's a pattern-based puzzle code. I don't even know what you refer to as, but like, for instance, you need to have these two lit, a middle one lit, and then the top one lit. Simple, right? But obviously in order, there's somewhat of a puzzle. I'm not going to go through the solution. I mean, it's quite simple, but this is a very simplistic, easy to do puzzle, and it's supposed to be. It's like the first puzzle you ever get to, so... besides that, that's puzzle 1. I was working on puzzle 2, and puzzle 2 is a little more complicated. And originally, this is what I came up with. I was thinking of like a grid weight system, because this second puzzle is tied to the, what was it? It was like a gravitational passive ability. It could increase the weight of the character. So while they were on a weight, it would lower, and then other weights that were lighter would lift up. It's a simple puzzle, and I did come up with a puzzle, and it works. It looks good. On paper, it's complicated. It's a bit more difficult. It's uses the mechanic that I wanted. It checks every box. But then I realized there was something wrong with the puzzle. Not actually wrong, like it didn't work, but it wasn't fun. The puzzle was overly complicated and time-consuming. Like, yes, you could get it done, but even if you were told the solution, it would take you probably an entire 30 seconds, maybe a minute, to actually get it done. And the fact that it takes you 30 seconds or a minute to get it done while already knowing the solution, it's very time-wasting and very, I guess, it just drags on. It's overly complicated. And it's not fun going back and forth. That's just something I think that's obvious, but, it needs to be said. So this puzzle here is something that I originally had, but then I scrapped it. I'm not going to explain or go through what the puzzle was, because it's not even going to be used. But it was somewhat of a grid system where it would lower, and you'd have to put the blocks, the weight blocks, in certain positions to, figure out the puzzle, and then it's completed. But basically, it's just all very, I don't know how you would describe it. I mean, overly complicated's fine, but there was another aspect of it to where it was just not good. It was just not a good puzzle. So, I was brainstorming, and I took the system of the weights to where if your character's, gravity can be activated to where they increase in gravity and become heavier. I liked the idea that weights would, go down and others would come up, or the weights would just drop. So I came up with a new puzzle. I was brainstorming. This is my brainstorming paper where I just write chicken scratch, just trying to get ideas down. Anything that sticks, I will develop on and then turn into something that's actually real. But this is what I had. I was thinking of ideas like, oh, it's a pulley system, right? There's a rope or something, and you have blocks individually. You can have it to where if you're on it, it takes the whole blocks and then drags them down, right? Because it becomes heavier, it pulls it down. And then I had another idea. What if there was speed involved? Like, maybe these blocks were heavier or these blocks were heavier and these were lighter, right? So let's say you increase gravity. These blocks would, since they're lighter, would fall faster because your character's heavy. And then when you're not heavy or you lift up on the gravity, they would rise up faster. And these ones would fall slower and rise faster because they're heavier. So with speed involved, new mechanics started to become more apparent to me, and I started to develop on those. And I've come up with some systems that somewhat work, somewhat don't. This puzzle is not complete. This is not a video on me explaining the puzzle or its completion. It's more of just the development and how close it is to being completed, which I am going with this puzzle. It's not completed yet, but it will be soon. So basically that was this, like the light one and the heavy ones. I was trying to come up with something. So I eventually came up with this. Now, this looks like a lot, but it's really not. This is just explaining things. Like I was thinking the grid would be a 3x3 blocks, which would look like something like this. There would be 3x3 blocks. And then the room size would be a 9x9 or 12x12, which that is translating over to the grids here, because the game is going to be in block form in terms of pixels 2D or whatever you call it. They will be essentially a block per grid. So these will always be two difference, and then, in between these. So then obviously blocks can be dropped through. They're not like solid platforms. Let's see, what else do I have here? This is just representing the speeds. It explains the speeds and how like the 1 is the fastest and the 3 is the slowest and the 2 is in the middle. It's simple stuff. This is all just reminder stuff. It's not important. What is important though is that this right here essentially is a puzzle that was a result of me just continuing to develop it. I think it went pretty well. This puzzle right here is not possible. This right here cannot be completed. Essentially, the start was going to be here, and the goal was to get to the top of block 7. It is not possible to get there right now, but it's very, very close. And it's a complex puzzle, but it's not time consuming. For instance, if you had the answer, you could probably do this in less than 10 seconds, or maybe, 15 seconds. And that is good, and also it's fun to actually experiment and do the puzzle because you're allowed to interact with it without even knowing the answer. The issue with the other ones was you wouldn't get any results from doing things, which was another aspect of not having fun, because people don't always just, sit there and look at a puzzle to figure it out. Sometimes people will do trial and error because they don't want to think about it and see if they can get a result and then think off of that result, which is fine. That's, people have multiple ways of figuring out puzzles, which this puzzle allows you to do both, which is good. That means it's a fun puzzle. And obviously, you will always have the answer. This isn't a trick puzzle. This is actually a good puzzle that is, you can figure out the answer. It's right there, but it actually takes thinking to get there. A trick puzzle is where it's like you have the key, but it gives you red herrings to where you can't get to the goal because you've been tricked into thinking you don't have the key, or, they're annoying puzzles like that. This is not like that. The other puzzle prior to that's not like this. It is not a very difficult puzzle, but but I expect it to be a little time consuming to figure out, I would assume. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, once I put it in practice, people will actually try it out, and then, they'll hopefully tell me if it's good or not. But right now, this puzzle is not complete. The way this works, because I originally thought the puzzle did work and there was an answer, there was not. I went over the math and all of it. It does not work. So I'm going to use this method and what I have with the blocks and the gravity, and I'm going to actually make a puzzle that does work using these, I guess, methods, or the puzzle itself, the system. That's what you would call it. Using this system. And I don't know when I'll have that complete, but I will brainstorm and try and figure out a way to complete it. I might add new mechanics to it. I don't think I want to change the system up, because the more simplistic the system is, the easier it is to not solve, but to think about it. Because if the more you know, options you have during a puzzle, or the more different options, not the right word. Let me rephrase that. The more choice, no, not choices. The more I'm trying to think what would be the wording. The more what would it be referred to? The more pieces you're given, okay, I'm just going to use that. The more pieces you are given to a puzzle, like 20 pieces, right? And you got to put them all in combination to figure something out. The more you have to actually think about it. The more you have to put in every single choice and every single piece that can go together with another, and you got to do it with every single one. And the more you just add on to it, the more complex it gets. And that complexity is not actually a difficulty, it's more of just a time waste because they're trying to artificially make it difficult by complicating it. I don't know if that made sense, but hopefully it did. So basically, I want to keep it a simple system that only has like 2 maybe mechanics for the puzzle, to where the player doesn't need to actually think about it too much, and then I can make those 2 to 3 mechanics actually make a good puzzle, because that's what makes a good puzzle in my opinion. So that is basically it for the puzzle. Is there anything on the back of this? No, there's nothing. That is basically it for this puzzle description. It's not done yet. I will figure out how to get it done. There were some rule sets that I set for myself for these puzzles. Like, obviously, I can make a puzzle that's a one-time solve puzzle. A lot of games do that. But these puzzles that I am making have to be able to be reused and changed into new combinations. Like, let's say this did work, right? This is one puzzle. I would need a new version of this exact puzzle, but in a different order, to where you would have to resolve it and figure it out again. In a good way, I would say. So the choice of making puzzles that are one-time solve puzzles, I can't think of any right now. Maybe like a Rubik's Cube, because you solve a Rubik's Cube once. I know there's multiple ways to solve a Rubik's Cube, but there has to be like those trick puzzles where the little chain things are connected? The little circle things that are connected, you gotta like pull them apart or flip them around in a certain angle and pull them out. And then once you figure it out, you can do it every single time, put them back together and, unattach them, like the little key puzzles. Essentially, I can't do a puzzle like that because, I need multiple ways of, putting it together. And I can't have it being the same solution every time. So that's why I need to create a system for a puzzle. A lot of words I've been saying. I don't know if a lot of it's been making sense, but I'm just documenting this. That is it for this devlog. I will continue trying to figure out this puzzle and figure it out if there's a right solution, or I need to rework all the mechanics. I do not know, but I don't think it'll be that bad. It won't take me very long. It won't be difficult. But yeah, that'll be it for this devlog. I think it's good progress.